sometimes it's hard because you know how often I go in and I'm still the only, but I go in and I just think, okay, I'm going to have a seat at this table and at of the table.
Hold on, underline that, at the head of the table.
I'm going to have it at the head of the table. And my father always said, believe in yourself. It all starts with believing in yourself. So in my household, growing up in Minnesota, a family of 6 children, my mother and father. My father was a doorman. My mom was a stay-home mom for a while, but brilliant, and finally she broke loose and worked for the University of Minnesota. She was very involved in politics. When she passed at 92 and a half a couple of years ago, councilmen, the mayor, governors, everyone, they were there in support of her. And much about my mother that happened over the years that she didn't even really talk about. All I remember is we started, for one, every day with prayer, okay, to church, very involved in church, but we were very involved in the community. She, in particular, set an example. You have to not sit back and complain. You just get involved, okay? Believe yourself and get involved. And have faith in yourself. So in my household, I could never say, oh, I don't have any money. Are you kidding me? She would never, especially my mom in particular, she would say, don't you ever utter those words, ever. So don't ever say you can't. Always say you can. And through faith, you can accomplish anything. And she said often it starts with how you sit, how you stand, how you speak. And my dad always said, you know, as a Black woman in particular, we have to go that extra 28,000 miles. When you walk in a room, or anywhere, when you leave your home, always hold your head high. Always hold your shoulders back. And always in your mind, just have faith that you can do whatever you want to accomplish. Hard work. I had a strong work ethic, so did my parents, and so did my siblings. You must work hard, study hard, get a job, 2 or 3 jobs if you need it, and don't complain. We all had our chores, we all had our responsibilities. Nothing was given to us. We had to work for it, we had to earn it, and we always had to give back. Give back to the community, give back to others. And then as I always just took that with me through life. I became a teacher in Greenwich, Connecticut, and in one of the wealthiest communities in the whole United States, Weston, Connecticut, and I'm a retired teacher of 38 years. I've been a realtor now for 17 years. I remember thinking, what am I going, a strong sense of design and decorating with. We used to go shopping together, and I was her scout, and I'd have to, you know, my dad would give her $30 to buy groceries for 6 kids, and so, and mom had, and we would go off shopping, and we'd, when we come back, you know, I was the only one that wanted to go shopping with her, to stop at a secondhand store or somewhere and find some treasure. And she'd always hide it in a bag or in the car. And she'd say, go in and see if your dad's anywhere. And we'd sneak it in. It was great. But I learned how the value of that dollar and how to make that dollar work for food, for clothing. All take care of yourself. Because she, even though it was $30, maybe she would keep one for herself. And that one aside too, and always had her extra stash. But then she also said, I'm not going to sit here and just let this man take care of me. I'm going to get a job. And I remember my mom and my dad had conflicts because he wanted her to stay home, and he was a proud Black man who wanted to take care of his family. And to hold her back, this brilliant woman, he decided, I give up. I have to let her go, and I have to let her soar. And that's when she became even more involved in the community. And now I find that as an educator, even before I had children, I taught in Greenwich, Connecticut. My students have always been predominantly white. And at first, when I applied, they were trying to put me in. When I went, they said, oh, have you considered now parts of Connecticut that are in lower class? And I said, no, this is where I want to be, and this is where I'm going to be. At that time, they were not hiring at all. There were only like 2 jobs available, and thought about what my parents had always taught me. Have faith in yourself, believe in God, believe in your talents, and then it's going to come to you. And I remember going in for this interview and being there with this team of people, and I blew them away, and I got the one job that was available in Greenwich. But it took time. When I go back to when there weren't these opportunities, we'd go to the Board of Ed meetings a couple years prior to getting this position. And I had no children. I wasn't married, but meetings. And I absolutely. And I would talk at the end of the Board of Ed meetings. After a while, they knew I was. Oh, here's Peggy Wilson. Here she is. Oh, she's here. She's back. And but that was just one other step you had to do. And so from that, Board of Ed members got to know me. So when the job came up and I came in and I applied, recognized my name and whatever, and my passion and my perseverance, and got the job.
Okay, that brings up a really important point, right? I used to go into rooms feeling like, oh no, I'm lonely. And like it felt very lonely at first. And I would look around and I would try to be like, could they have a similar background as me? Am I supposed to be here? I don't know. So I know that because your parents gave you that confidence, you're able to walk in rooms like that.
Right.
What do you say to the people who weren't as fortunate? They didn't have parents that set down that foundation for them, or they feel like when they walk into those rooms, they're the only in their industry. What do you tell them? What advice do you have?
You are going to be the only. So often. Don't let that hold you back. Sometimes it's hard because you know how often I go in and I'm still the only. But I go in and I just think, okay, I'm going to have a seat at this table and at of the table.
Hold on. Underline that. At the head of the table.
I'm going to have it at the head of the table. And that goes back, I mean, sometimes I just think it's not just my mom and my dad, but it's my grandparents, you know, it goes, sometimes the ancestors just emerge from me, from within my heart and my soul, and it just, I don't know, sometimes I just wonder, and it will happen. And what, if you're, oh, no one ever taught me, whatever, just pause, take time practicing the mirror in the morning, for example. I taught my students that. Look in the mirror when you wake up in the morning. Tell yourself that you love yourself. Look at yourself and tell yourself that you're beautiful, that you're smart, that you're brilliant, and that you could do anything you want. Because you're going to listen to yourself. Because sometimes no one else is going to tell you, but tell yourself. And start with that. And that gets you so far in life.
So this is an excellent segue to say someone's listening to this and they're a first-time home buyer and they're maybe the first in their family to own a home. Maybe their parents are immigrants, right? And they have no idea how to purchase a home here. What affirmations would you suggest for them? Or how can they get started?
It's so important who you work with. Absolutely. I'm so proud to be a part of Compass. And also, I know my skills as an educator and breaking it down for all types of learners, all types of buyers, sellers. And so that brings me joy to work with those clients because it is confusing. I'm working with an agent, two buyers right now, and it's confusing, very confusing. And they're both African American, and they're nervous and they're afraid. There's many fears that they have. You know, one in particular is moving into an all-white community. Yeah, and she wants this because her of the schools for one. And so just how do you navigate that? And I told her I'm meeting with her when I return. We already set up an appointment to go to the school together. I know the superintendent just paved the way to sit them down.
What you did in the beginning of your career, right?
Absolutely.
Sitting front and center so that people see you and
absolutely
at the head of the table. So thank you.
Going to Board of Ed member meetings. I mean, as the in speaking about those that are immigrants, they happen to be Jamaican and into an all-white community, getting involved. This woman, she works in New York City, but she can work from home. And I said, you need to, and she wants to do this, volunteer in the classroom, be present, go to Board of Ed meetings, join community groups, because they have to see you, because otherwise they're going to think, who is this person? They're going to use their perceived notions and views of someone of color. They're going to judge you by the color of your skin,
and not by your character.
not by the content of your character. And who said that? Martin Luther King. Absolutely. It's just, I mean, and when I think of as an educator, my students, I taught in all white schools. They loved when I taught them all about Black history, taught them poetry. We did, someone just wrote me and said, it was on LinkedIn. I haven't spoken to this child. Maybe it's a man. Yeah, it's been at least 20 years. He said, Mrs. J, I'll never forget when you taught me Dreams by Langston Hughes. Hold fast to dreams, because when dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, and when dreams soar, life is a barren field frozen in snow, something like that. I can't remember the whole thing. But it was so, this was just the other day. And he said, and this is a white man in business, and he said, Mrs. J, I remember, I'll never forget that poem. And he said, that has helped me so much in life. So that's Langston Hughes. Whatever, I know I'm...
No, it's really good. This will lead me down to my last question, which is, say someone's dream is to buy a home, but obstacles keep coming up for them and they think like they're never going to be able to do it. What piece of advice do you have for someone where it's their dream to do it, but they feel like they haven't been able to do it yet? And did they miss a boat? Is it too late for them?
Never too late. It takes, first of all, you have to look at your finances. You have to have, it's a partnership, it's a collaboration. Who's going to be there for you? So make sure you find the best broker, a mortgage lender, and your great realtors can connect you with someone. And then it might take a couple of years because your finances may not be in place. And save. And you should really start saving when you're born. But if you're not, then when you're a teenager and you get your first job, set aside a portion of your money. I did not do that. And my daughters, we have 3 daughters, and now one of my dearest friends helped them because it just wasn't a part of my growing up. We were not a wealthy family. And I learned more about wealth as I grew up and as an adult some of which from my wealthy clients. But yes, so it takes time and it takes patience, but you can do it. Absolutely.
Okay, no, I said it was going to be my last, but what is the best advice, or as you look at the wealthiest clients that you've had, like what are you learning from them that you didn't learn from your family?
One of my wealthiest clients called when I owned desk duty, and I would always start by blessing the phones. Dear Heavenly Father, please, whoever's meant to be will come to me today. So I'm in this office and the phone rings. I had just started. It was like 12:05. And I get this call, and this guy, he says, I want to see this property, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I don't have time. It's off the golf course. I have a busy day. I have to go catch a flight out of New York. Can I see it? And it turns out that I thought, for one, it was a scam. And then I felt, I really have to do this.
Right. To say if it's not.
Yes. And then he called back, and it turns out he's in the industry of private equity and intelligence. Realized this later.
Right.
He vetted me probably in those 10 minutes. Because when he called back, because he said, I'll call you back in a few minutes, see if I can get there. So when he called back and he said, I want to just tell you one thing. You're my agent, and I'm buying from you. Because I can't stand agents. I don't trust them, but I trust you. And if anyone says this call in, when I called, belongs to them, tell them they know where to go. And I'm thinking, this guy is really crazy. Fast forward, this individual has since purchased, I have sold over $30 million worth of properties with him. And he considers me one of his best friends, which is so.
Do you think it's because you're trustworthy?
I think also because he could trust me and because of our faith, our shared faith. He's a Christian. This came up. I'm a Christian. He's a Christian. He trusts me. He can talk to me. He has shared with me he can't just, in his world, he can't trust just anyone because many people are trying to get into his pocket and align themselves with him because of his wealth.
Right.
I don't disclose who the individual is. I don't, I keep everything private about this individual and that relationship, and he really respects that. And it's been 10 years now. It's great. Yes. Did that answer your question?
Let's dig a little deeper before I let you go. What did you learn exactly from him as far as like wealth building strategies?
He does look out for his family. I shared with him, I've taught him a few things about how he needs to have his children do a little work. That's because his children expect everything to be done, and he's filthy rich, so he gives them everything. I said they need to work, they need to be responsible, but I know what I've learned from him is that he was not wealthy. He was from a family that was poor. He earned his money by education. Okay, so it just reinforced what I learned, but he went the extra miles by using that intelligence and opportunities. He was in a different world, beautiful, handsome, blonde, blue-eyed guy, and just people would fall over him, I'm sure, when he walked in the room. He had the look, and then he had the intelligence. We have such a great, respectful relationship, which some people in the purchasing of homes, when they saw me, understand how this Black woman could represent someone of wealth like that. Stories.
Oh yeah, we're gonna definitely have you back.
Yeah, some of those, girl, those are mother stories. It's interesting now. Okay. Anyway, so
yeah, and I just want to thank you being on this podcast. We've seen each other throughout the years.
Yes,
I've
this
been
is
following you for a
great.
long time on Instagram. Your dance moves are everything.
Oh,
I just
thank
want to
you.
have more people reach out to you and buy home so I can continue to see you dance.
Please,
Your victory dance.
I am your Connecticut connection.
I love that.
Is this a camera? This is a voice.
Everything. It's everything.
Okay. I am your Connecticut connections. So everything starts with me. Okay. And then throughout Connecticut, throughout Fairfield County, throughout New Haven County, even over the border, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, start with me. Okay? I'll make the connection, put it together for you. All right?
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
This is fun.